So after you found out about the affair, did he have a hard time letting her go? I mean, was it a struggle? Was it heartbreaking for you to watch him grieve the loss of her? Did you wonder sometimes, yeah, would he have grieved like that if he actually lost me? Yeah. There's a term for that, what he was experiencing, and it's called limerence. I'll be honest, when I went through this back in 2011, I didn't know anything about limerence. I was I watched my husband do similar things and didn't know what in the world was going on, but now I do. I've since learned quite a bit about limerence, and if you're going through this right now and you're struggling, I want you to know what this is as well, because it may help you not feel so incredibly crushed as he's going through this. So stay tuned. Let's see if we can unpack a little bit about limerence, what it is, what may be happening with your husband right now, and what you can do about it. Okay, so the term I was referencing in the opening was the term limerence. And again, check out the link in the comments below. I will link the actual book in Amazon if you want to check it out. It's a great book. It's very clinical, but I want to kind of explain this word, what it is, and kind of what it became. Okay, so if you think about falling in love, there are different stages, and a lot of psychologists have addressed have talked about the stages of falling in love. And there's this stage that's not really infatuation. It's almost a step beyond infatuation, and it's called limerence. And in a healthy relationship, two single people who have made a decision to start talking, and they're both attracted to one another and they're interested in developing a long-term relationship, in a healthy scenario like that, limerence takes place. And what happens in the limerence phase is that you think about the person all the time. You see mostly their good qualities, and you kind of ignore the bad qualities. You can't wait for them to call you, and when they do, you get butterflies in your tummy. You start fantasizing about a future with them. You get very upset if they don't call you, that kind of thing. I mean, it's almost like that. It's part of the bonding of a healthy relationship, because it starts to establish that desire to be with one another, that desire to develop a deeper connection, a deeper relationship. This could be when, physical attraction becomes very strong and you want to have physical intimacy for the first time, that kind of thing. So that's limerence. And if you're married to someone that you fell in love with, you went through that just like I did. We had that phase, but we were in a healthy relationship that was moving its way toward marriage. We were looking for that long-term thing. We were anticipating how we could have a good relationship down the road, and this was just part of it. It was just a step. In an unhealthy scenario, limerence has started to become the term that's coined to be used in a scenario like when a person is already in a relationship and they start a relationship with somebody else that really was not intended to be a long-term relationship. Now, an example is an affair, because in many of our situations, I know not in all of them, but in many of our situations, the affair was never intended to be a long-term relationship. It was meant to be a short-term fix to fulfill a need, whether it was a one-night stand or it was just for sex or someone just needed somebody to talk to or whatever. It always starts out, for the person who's married, the person who's already in a relationship, it always starts out as a short-term thing. Otherwise, just leave your spouse. I mean, that's the reason why they don't leave the marriage. They're trying to fulfill something in a short-term basis. And the intention is never to develop a long-term relationship with that person. The intention is to get your needs met so you can stay in the long-term relationship you're choosing. So limerence in this particular case is unhealthy because it's a phase that's meant to go somewhere, but it's stuck in limerence because the relationship that's been created was never intended to be a long-term relationship. So this book that I'm putting down there kind of goes into this a little bit further, but in a limerence situation, it feels like the same thing it would if you were single and you were intentionally creating a long-term relationship. The feelings are still there. It kind of feels like you're falling in love. You've got the endorphins. It's a chemical. That's why they refer to affairs a lot of times as a drug. Because if you are stuck in this perpetual dopamine drip, the endorphins are flowing, then yeah, it is like a drug when you talk to this person. And there's also the secrecy, the level of excitement from something being done in secret that just adds to it. So you've got limerence, and then you've got the secret side thing going on, and you've got all the emotions and the endorphins flowing and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it feels real. So when we find out about the affair and our husband discloses it, and then suddenly he's crying, and you think he's crying because he's sad he's losing you, and then suddenly you realize, wait a minute, I think he's sad because he's going to have to lose her. What? Okay. What's happening there is that he is grieving the loss. He is feeling the loss of those feelings. He liked how that felt. He liked the gooey feeling of being with this person, even if the relationship itself wasn't healthy, okay, to say the least. Maybe this other person was kind of toxic, or maybe she was a hot mess or whatever. He still had those feelings that were associated with her. Now, if you've been married a number of years, and in my case, I think I was married 14 years at the time I found out about, I think that was right. Anyway, around that time, then, let's see, 2010, I was married 14 years. So, we had gotten past that stage. So my husband and I, we weren't living off of endorphins anymore. We had 2 kids, we had jobs, we had responsibilities. So this was new. And the loss of that is felt. So he's going to grieve a little bit. And I know it sucks, but that's what's happening underneath. That is limerence. I strongly encourage you to look it up because it has zero to do with you. Zero to do with me. It's all about them. Okay? They are struggling. They are the ones who are having to sort through these feelings. They're the ones who are feeling the loss. They're the ones who are stuck in this perpetual limerence situation that is not healthy, that is very unhealthy, and they're trying to sort through their feelings because these are genuine feelings. They're genuine. They do feel. Now, what this is not true love. It's not real right now. And it's built on a fantasy. It's not built on reality. I will add a caveat to this. I happen to know 2 people in my life, not good friends, but people I know, who had an affair, divorced their spouse, and married the other woman. and both of them were men who married the other woman. Neither of these men are happy. And this is just my situation. This is just my scenario, but neither of them are happy. They're in toxic relationships. The ex-wives in this scenario were the ones who were my friends. And the ex-wives are doing great. They're remarried, super happy. Everything's great. But the husband who married the other woman, it's because once you get out of that limerence phase, that's who you're stuck with. And it wasn't built on a future like it was with us. It's different. So I hope you understand that. I hope that we can all just absorb that a little bit. What's happening within them, they've got to get through it. It's like coming off of an addiction high. They've got to get through that. They got to get clean. They got to get away from it. This is why no contact is an absolute rule, because the more contact they have with the drug, the harder it is to kick the habit. But to get through limerence, they've got to get through it. They've got to process through it. They've got to talk to a counselor. They've got to deal with it. And then once they're on the other side of it, they will see things clearly. They will. They'll realize that wasn't real. They'll realize that was based on a fantasy. It was not reality. They will get there, I promise. But it takes time. But I wanted to kind of do a video. Someone asked me about limerence in a previous YouTube comment, and I wanted to make sure I gave this justice. But really, I strongly recommend you both Google articles about limerence and affair situations, and also read that book or get that book that I linked below. I don't get any, by the way, I don't make any money off of any of this except for my coaching. I've heard great things about this book, and I want to make sure it's available to those of you who want to read. It is a clinical book. It's not a book that I would recommend for light reading. It is a clinical book, but it can kind of help you unpack a little bit about what's going on with your husband. If it is stressing you out and it's making you question your choice to stay, I get it. But see if that's something that can be helpful to you. All right. Limerence is something, like I mentioned, I went through. I've been through everything you've been through to a degree. The one thing I didn't go through is having an affair child. I'm grateful for that. But pretty much everything else, yeah, been there, done that. But I'm on the other side of it now, and life is good. My marriage is good, and I want that for you. It's a lot of hard work. It's not easy, and it does take two people to keep the marriage going. But my concern is you. I want you to be able to get through this and become the happiest, healthiest version of yourself possible on the other side. So I invite you to consider the things, the ways in which you can do that. And if you need help along the way, if you're not seeing a counselor, for instance, and you're looking for something different, coaching is fantastic, because coaching's all about moving forward. We don't let you stay stuck. We want you to continue to move forward, and what I provide is comprehensive, and it's also completely and utterly specified to your needs, where you are in affair recovery. All my clients have come to me in different phases of their recovery, so I want to be there for you. I even have 2 clients right now going through divorce proceedings. Not all marriages survive. I'm there for my clients through that as well. And if you're interested, my link is right below this video. Just click on it and schedule an appointment with me, and we can talk about what you're going through. I spend most of my time in our appointment together discussing, things you're going through and how I can help. And I only spend a little bit of time talking about coaching, but I'm there, and I want to be your coach if you're looking for one. So in the meantime, definitely check out more information about limerence and see if that doesn't help better understand maybe how your spouse got pulled into that, why the feelings are so strong, and why it may be really hard for him to let her go. I hope this has been helpful.